Hey Mike, it's me Ian, and in today's video I'm continuing my look at classic Doctor Who, and this is The Chase from 1965, and previously we'd had the Space Museum, and the next one will be the Time Meddler, and this is Season 2, and it's made up of 6 episodes. Episode 1, The Executioners. Episode 2, The Death of Time. Episode 3, Flight Through Eternity. Episode 4, Journey into Terror. Episode 5, The Death of Doctor Who. And Episode 6, The Planet of Decision. This is written by Terry Nation, and the script editor is, of course, Dennis Spooner. It's directed by Richard Martin. Previously, he directed The Daleks, 1963. He also directed The Dalek Invasion of Earth, 1964. And episode 1 of The Edge of Destruction, 1964. And it's produced, of course, by Verity Lambert. The music is by Dudley Simpson. So now, what I'm doing here is I'm just going through the main cast, because there's quite a few. In fact, there's quite a lot of people who have very small roles in this. They just appear and that. So I'm just mentioning, of course, we've got William Hartnell as the Doctor, Jacqueline Hill as Barbara Wright, we've got Maureen O'Brien as Vicky, and now we've got the introduction of Peter Purves, who plays Morton Dill, but more importantly, he also plays Stephen Taylor, who's going to be a regular companion. Just one bit of, I suppose it's just a bit of interest, because I've been reviewing some films on my channel, looking at them, watching them, and Hywel Bennett pops up quite a bit, and he actually pops up in this episode as Rainian. There it is, just a bit of trivia, but this story, it's one of those stories that I don't know. The concept is a really good concept, but I don't know, it just doesn't quite work or seem to quite work. So what it is, basically, I'm going to put it as simple as possible, is it's the Daleks who are pursuing the Doctor. Basically, they want to get the TARDIS. They want to be able to travel through time, like the Doctor does. They want all of that. And this is what it is about, the pursuit. And the Doctor has this, sort of, you could call it like a giant TV which looks at history. And you can go to various points in history and you see it on the TV. So we get things like, we see Abraham Lincoln doing the Gettysburg Address. We see, which is, I think, quite an interesting bit, is that we see the Beatles. The Beatles appear in Doctor Who. There they are. And of course, this becomes important because the clip they show is the Beatles doing Ticket Ticket to Ride, and this is on Top of the Pops, and Top of the Pops, a lot of episodes were wiped, including, you can't believe it, can you? The Beatles on Top of the Pops, it was wiped. So this is the only surviving clip of the Beatles on Top of the Pops. Wow, that's amazing. There it is. So, you know, it's that has, in terms of releases in physical media, often caused problems. But we have on this release that I've looked at, they managed, the BBC, to negotiate where they can actually show the Beatles. But I think in some other areas, other countries, they show something else. They can't show the Beatles because it costs too much money. It costs a lot of money to do that. But they managed to get that anyhow. They got permission, so that is good. And this story, and so you meet all these various characters. It's interesting, and I say the concept just is a good idea, but it just doesn't quite work, you know. But I mean, I love the idea, like when we get the Universal monsters popping up. Yes, Frankenstein and Dracula. Wow, that seems pretty cool. The Mary Celeste. Yes, we see this. We see these great things, but I don't know whether when you watch it, you think, yes, this is great, but then it just goes by and it goes on, and maybe as well the 6 episodes. It should have been less, maybe, as well. But I suppose as they have a certain number, they had to fill it up in those days with all the episodes. So for them, 6 episodes, oh great, we fill up, you know, the stories. I think ultimately that is why I think now we look at this, it's interesting. It's always good to see the Daleks, but of course the other thing is, were the Daleks, people getting fed up of the Daleks being used so much as well? I think that's another interesting point, you know, as we've seen in years now. The Daleks always pop up, and they can become, you want the Daleks to be, we want to see less, and that means more, because you enjoy them more than them popping up all the time, I think. And this era is certainly, we've seen the Daleks. But, you know, I think it's good that it's here, it's in the archives, this story, which is another plus. You've got to look at it like that. And it's typical of 60s Doctor Who, which is another great thing. And the other big headline, how could I forget, is, of course, that Barbara and Ian leave. Yeah, it's sad, isn't it? You know, you kind of got to love those as companions. And they leave. But it's a nice ending. They get back a year before, 965, they get back to. And it's a lovely ending. You can't help but love that ending. And it's all now forward. We've got Vicky there, and we're now going to get Peter Purvis's, or Stephen Taylor. That's what Peter Purvis's character is called, Stephen Taylor. So we're going to get Stephen in on board the TARDIS. So again, I'd say it feels like, you know, it's a newer era coming up, with William Hartnell being in great form. I thought he was really good, and you could even see the emotion that he's really going to miss Barbara and Ian. Yeah, It's like that. Yeah. So again, highly recommended. You know, this story, for all its faults, as I've said, you know, it is worth watching. But it's definitely, I think, overdone. It is too long. But you know, there it is. Enjoy. So, as I always, before I go, we'll have a look. Here we are. DVD of Chase. The Chase. And then there's documentaries and all the extras on there. And we've even got an extras disc. An extra disc. Look at the nice illustrations on here as well. You can't really beat the illustrations. Look at that. The disc. And same on the great disc. And this. Oh, it's a nice little insert to have. Documentaries, everything on there, the extras. And of course it's in this nice little box set. But of course I have to show you this because it's an absolute treasure. And we're getting near the end now. There's only one more story left after this for this season 2. But there it is. Wonderful, isn't it? I always say it's just a beautiful set. And that's it. Hope you've enjoyed that. And if you have, then please give it a like. If you give it a like, it's good for my channel. It gets it onto YouTube, and hopefully other people might enjoy it. And if you're new to the channel, why not consider subscribing? If you subscribe, we'll let you know when I put out the videos and all that. Also, if you've got any comments about this video, please put your comments down and I'll always reply to them. And that's it. So, all I've got to say is, I'll see thee again.